Welcome to the Confidence Through Health podcast. My name is Jerry Snyder. As a health, wellness, and sports performance coach, my goal each week is to bring you experts to help you take control of your health and build your self-confidence. Thanks for including me today on your journey to better health. I'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, All In Health and Wellness. If you're looking for a health coach, you're looking for a sports performance coach, you're looking for nutrition guidance, like for instance, a meal-by-meal plan that will help you understand how to eat. It will teach you how to eat, and it will give your body, your cells, the proper nutrition to feel great and be able to perform at your best, not just physically, but also emotionally and mentally. If you're looking for those things, you're looking for the key to improve your sports performance, both from a nutrition standpoint and an exercise physical standpoint and a mental standpoint as you approach your athletic event. All In Health and Wellness is able to help in these areas. Go to allinhealthandwellness.com and you'll find the contact information for how to get in touch with them and get started on the plan that will improve your life. So Dr. Paul, I want to thank you for joining me on the Confidence Through Health podcast.
Absolutely. Honored to be here.
So as we talked a little bit before we started recording, you've got two companies, and I want to spend a little bit of time on both because they're both what some people might think of as longevity looking, but they're really health and preventative in my mind, right? Like setting your body up, setting your cells up properly. And that's what I want to bring to people is how do you make your cells as strong as possible so that you can withstand and fight off, especially the thing that most people are worried about, which is cancer and other chronic diseases.
Right.
How do you get strong enough to do that? So what was your impetus to say, this is what I want to focus on as far as bringing these companies to market?
Well, the origin story of Echo is 20 years ago, November 2005, my wife was really sick. And so I was a 31-year-old, married 10 years, and I like my wife a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And so I wasn't like, oh, okay, this would be a way. Like literally, I love her and I wanted her to be around. So it was one of those things where she was in a very bad situation. During her menstrual cycle, we would lose her a week out of every month. And then she had very acute anemia, so she would just faint, and she had short-term memory issues. There was so much going on in her life. She would be doubled over in pain during her menstrual cycle. Like it was just really disruptive to our entire home. And I was concerned. That she was going to make it. And so I was looking at every possible thing. I was not an ND yet. I wasn't a doctor of naturopathy. I was a podorthist. So ankle down was my scope of practice. And I was focused on diabetes and preventing decubitus ulcers and whatever. So, that was my world at the time. And to be honest, I stumbled across hydrogen. No one was talking about hydrogen back in 2005. There was nobody talking about this, and quite honestly, I was not either. And I was trying to figure out what was going on. And there was a whole world of alkaline water that was all the rage at that time, the alkaline water machines. And I was like, there is no way the pH of water is going to affect anyone. As much as people were talking about it, there was zero science, and there still is zero science supporting that. And I would say to people, if it was true, then you could just put baking soda in water and that's it. You just change the pH. But so long story short, I was trying to figure out something for my wife, and it ended up that some friends of ours took us on a cruise as a thank you for helping their business financially. And as a result of being on that cruise, the first day of that cruise was the first day of my wife's menstrual cycle. Mm-hmm. And so she went straight to the cabin. And I knew of the 9 days that we were going to be on the cruise, she would not be participating very much 7 of those 9 days. And I was like, this kind of stinks, but we didn't choose the dates.
Mhm.
The cruise was a gift to us for
Right.
helping some friends. And so you just do the best you can do. But it was on that cruise that my friends brought water with them in gallon containers. And it was water that was alkaline,
Mhm.
and it helped my wife. And clearly it wasn't the pH. And so I said, "What is in this water?" And my friends were like, "We have no idea. We don't even honestly understand it. But the way we were able to pay you back the loan you gave us was because of this water, because we put these water machines and people are buying water by the gallon, and
Right.
it's like 200 people a day." And I'm like, "What?" It was very surprising to me because I was like, that was
Yeah.
not a part of my world at that time.
Yeah.
And so it helped my wife though. So my wife began drinking the water and she started craving drinking this water. And I'm like, okay, I'll drink the toilet water because that's what I was joking that
Right.
it was on the ship. And within a day and a half, she was up and around and participating. And I thought, what in the world? Like, I thought this was crazy, and now I thought it was less crazy. So I'm asking my friends, what's basically, I'm trying to figure out what the mechanism is. And they
Sure.
had no idea. Nobody had any idea. And so I can tell you definitively today, there was no hydrogen in that water,
Okay.
but because the machine they used to make this water was what's called traditional electrolysis, it did have a negative electrical potential, what's
Yeah.
called ORP, oxidation reduction potential. That helped my wife's gut
Right.
and will help anyone else's gut, but it helped my wife's gut enough for her to feel better on this cruise. Well, after this cruise, she went and started buying this water by the gallon, and within 6 months, her menstrual cycle was normalized. Now, by that time, I was noticing differences, and I was like, what the heck? And so it wasn't just about a cruise anymore. It was, wait a minute, my wife's life has changed. Therefore, our family's life has changed. I need to figure out what the heck this is.
Yeah.
So I started doing research. It took me about a year and a half to figure out that, yes, in electrolysis, hydrogen is produced, but then hydrogen goes back out to atmosphere pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And it's the ORP that stays in the water that can help restore the biome on the terrain. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. What if we were able to keep hydrogen in the water? What is there any research on hydrogen? And when I started asking the right questions about that, oh my gosh, I started seeing studies that no one knew existed from the 1800s.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I was like, whoa. So that's what started my journey. And then I ended up joining a company at the time way back called Ion Life, and it was a alkaline water machine company. And we were selling thousands of machines a month all over the world. Like I joined their company as a part owner and the executive team, and grew the company from like $1.5 million to 21 million in like 3 years. And this was all back in that time frame, 18 years ago. And once I had figured out that hydrogen really was the benefit, I wanted to focus what we were talking about on hydrogen. And my two
Mhm.
partners at the time said, nope, not interested. We're going to keep what we're doing. It's working. We're making money. And I said,
Right.
okay, I'm out. So buy me out and I'm gone. And I started Echo in 2009. So
Yeah.
from 2005, 4 years later, I was starting Echo. I knew it was hydrogen, and we were just figuring out hydrogen. And I was creating, initially the machine was alkaline water, but there was a patent that reversed the polarity on the electrodes so you wouldn't lose the hydrogen like all the other alkaline machines.
Right.
And then a few years later, we developed the first machine ever that made neutral pH water with hydrogen. And we continued to do all these things. And again, that was 2016. We also created the first portable bottle,
Right.
that was doing that. And so we started launching all that. And then, you know, Joe Rogan talked about our water, Gary Brecka started talking, Dana White, all these people started, and the rest is history. And so I'm grateful for all these individuals. And there was another individual that came along through this process. And so, anyways, that's kind of a very watered down version of
Right.
the origin story of what happened. But that's a bit effectively how I got involved. But I got very passionate once my wife was helped,
Oh,
and I
sure.
wanted to help everyone. Once I saw the difference in my wife, I was like, there's got to be other husbands who don't know what to do. There's
Right.
got to be other people who are suffering. And I just don't want people to unnecessarily suffer.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not excess hydrogen, it's keeping the hydrogen that was already in there.
Okay, so that's one I love that you asked that question, because that's probably the first thing people say is, wait a minute,
Yeah.
hydrogen is already in water. It's H2O.
Right.
Well, the reality is no, there's no hydrogen in water. Water is a liquid.
Right.
Hydrogen's a gas.
Yep.
So our body needs gas. Our body needs hydrogen gas that's not already bonded in a water molecule to make a liquid. So when hydrogen and oxygen combine to form water, it's now a liquid, it's not a gas. So
Right.
yes, the constituent elements are H2O, but you don't have any hydrogen gas in water. So what we're really doing is we're through proprietary electrolysis technology, is using a proton exchange membrane.
Hmm.
We separate water, liquid water, into hydrogen and oxygen gas. We're sending oxygen out to the atmosphere, and we're just dissolving the
Mm.
H2 gas into the H2O water. So
Gotcha.
it's a small amount of gas. We're measuring it in parts per million. And we have like 6 to 8 parts per million, which is very high for these devices. But effectively, we're not doing anything else to water.
Right.
It's pure water with H2 gas, and that's it. We've already had third party validated testing. There's no metals, there's no contaminants, there's nothing, there's no deuterium, there's none of
Right.
that added into the water. It's just H2 gas, and then the oxygen and the ozone, the chlorine comes out of our product. Now, the problem is our products, the Echo branded products, are legitimate hydrogen products.
Yeah.
When Joe Rogan talked about our bottle years ago, all of a sudden manufacturers from
Hmm.
Asia started flooding these
Right.
cheap, inexpensive knockoffs. And unfortunately, they don't produce hydrogen. And so people are getting scammed.
Right.
90, I would say 99% of all portable bottles sold as hydrogen bottles are not.
Yeah.
They are producing chlorine, ozone, hypochlorous acid, and maybe some hydrogen.
Hmm.
But the problem is, if you were to put pure water in them, they would not produce anything.
Mm.
Whereas in our device, we can use distilled reverse osmosis, and you're going to produce 6 parts per million to 12 to 8 parts per million in
Yeah.
12 ounces of water. And just understand that there's no other device in the world that does that.
Right.
So people are like, "Oh, I'm beating the system by getting a bottle for, $50, $100." You're not beating anything. You're
Yeah.
just drinking in chlorinated water. And
Right.
so that's the reality of that. And so you owe it to yourself
Yeah.
to get the real deal. It's not like we're talking about, $100,000. We're talking about $299 if it's not even on
Right.
sale, right?
Right.
So that's the deal, is we're just producing water with H2 gas. And that H2 gas is critical for our body. If we look at stomach acid, you have to have hydrogen gas unbound to carbohydrates, proteins, anything else to be available to make hypochloric acid. So
Right.
HCl, you need H, right?
Right.
And understand the creator of our bodies, the great engineer
Hmm.
that created our bodies, obviously understood how critical hydrogen gas was. And so we have a hydrogen gas generator in our body.
Right.
In our colon, when we ferment food, just like a car has a tailpipe, we have a
Hmm.
tailpipe.
Yep.
And out our tailpipe comes gases just like in a car. And the
Right.
reality is hydrogen, methane, these are coming out. Now, in our case, hydrogen is critical to life. Hydrogen modulates oxidation,
Right.
inflammation, brain function, all kinds of things, mitochondrial function, like all kinds of things are modulated by hydrogen gas. And so, why did I create these products? Why did my wife need that? Because she had gut damage.
Right.
And it's estimated that 90%
Oh,
of the
yeah.
population in the United States of America have gut dysfunction. So
Right.
therefore, they're not producing hydrogen the way they're supposed to. So they're going to have higher rates of oxidative stress and inflammation. So they're going to have joint issues, brain fog, heart issues, lung issues, mitochondrial or energy issues. They're going to have disease models, all the things that come
Yeah.
as a result of gut issues. And here we're getting hydrogen just back into the body, and we're using water as a vehicle to get hydrogen gas back into the body. And primarily, I want to fix the gut.
Right.
So, those with gluten and dairy intolerance or those with other gut related issues can largely be gone within 2 weeks if they drink Echo Water because of the hydrogen gas that's in it
Right.
and nothing else.
And so is water, so you're using water to get the gas into the body. Is there another way to do that that's safe?
Well, your body should be producing it on its own.
Right.
Well, short chain fatty acids, medium chain fatty acids, fiber, all would be converted, but that requires that we have anaerobic microflora flora in
Right.
the gut, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't have the proper terrain and biome in the gut,
Right.
so they have more aerobic bacteria than they should. So they end up with sugar and carb cravings
Right.
and and anxiety and depression. That's naturally going to be what happens when you have
Right.
too much aerobic bacteria. So for people to understand, 96 to 99% of the bacteria in your gut should be anaerobic within the anaerobic family.
Right.
Only 1 to 4% should be aerobic. Well, the problem is with the antibiotic overuse. And what do I mean by that? I want to make sure people understand that I'm not against antibiotics. Antibiotics are life saving
Sure.
when you have a bacterial infection that is life threatening.
Hmm.
When you have a life threatening bacterial infection, 100% you should take an antibiotic. And then let's build your gut up. Drink Echo Water
Right.
afterwards and let's get your gut back.
Right.
But if you have a virus or you have some other thing, antibiotics do nothing. And yet you've harmed your intestinal tract
Right.
with most of the antibiotics on the market. So I'm just saying that those that have overused antibiotics or have heavy metals or have pesticides. We now know glyphosate and other things
Mhm.
can negatively affect the gut environment. With those things that are plentiful in the environment, in our food, in air, in water, you have plenty of opportunity to harm your intestinal tract.
Right.
And once you do, you're not able to process foods properly and you're not able to create hydrogen gas. And your entire terrain and biome is an electrical thing.
Right.
So bacteria like an environment to live in, and it is an electrical environment. High, Echo Water has a negative 400 to a negative 600 millivolts of electrical potential. When you drink this water, it's going to impart that negative electrical potential into the tissue of the
Mhm.
colon, for example, and that is going to encourage the growth of anaerobic microflora because that's the environment they're looking for. So
Right.
that's how we're changing the intestinal tract or changing the gut rapidly.
Yeah.
Like within the first day, people are like, whoa, this is different. I can eat different things. Within 2 weeks, people that have serious gluten and dairy intolerance or other food allergies, many times they can be eating those foods with no inflammatory response in the body. I don't know about you, Jerry, but that's a life changing thing for
Oh,
people
totally.
Because
Oh,
try to go into a restaurant and have a decent meal when you're trying to be 100% away from gluten and dairy,
right.
forget it.
Yeah.
Like, you can eat a carrot.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, good luck, buddy. I love you. I'll
Right.
give you a hug afterwards, right? Like, good
Right.
luck with it. Because even when they say it's gluten free, it's not really,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyways, my point in all this is we can help people. The problem is there's a huge lack of education, and people, when they hear the word hydrogen water, it immediately creates conflict in their brain
Mhm.
because they're like, that must be a scam. I don't like that because hydrogen and water, that seems like the same thing,
Yeah.
but it's really not.
Yeah.
We're saying, and hydrogen water is a perfectly fine term, but it is polarizing. And so
Yep.
that's why I'm now focusing on eco water, because if I say hydrogen water, now it legitimizes all the crappy products on the market that say they're hydrogen water. So I'm saying don't dare buy anything else but Echo Water, because that's the only one I can guarantee you is 100% hydrogen gas, nothing else, and then pure water. That's what you're getting, and
Right.
it would help you, right?
Yeah. Well, and I like the way you explained the electrical piece because I think everybody knows that water can carry current.
Yeah.
And I think what confuses a lot of people when I talk to them about, because people ask me, should I do alkaline water? And most of the time I say, no, you should
Yeah, I
be
agree with you.
changing your pH through the foods you eat. And they're like, okay, but and of course people that are quote educated on it will come back with, oh, but my pH needs to be this. And I'm like, the different parts of your digestive system change the pH level as it goes through.
Right.
So if you're manufacturing that by overdosing, if you will, on alkaline water, then you're moving the needle in the wrong direction, possibly, and you're disrupting your gut instead of helping your gut.
Oh,
Makes
100%.
sense.
And I would say it's a complete scam. The whole premise of eat alkaline, your body's gonna be it's completely false.
Hmm.
There's no truth to that.
Right.
And I'm gonna say something that's gonna like cause everyone to freak out for a second, and I hope it does. I want you all to freak out in your mind for a
Hmm.
second, and then I want you to go do some research. And then you're gonna be like, oh, this guy's not nuts, right? Like he actually has a clue. And trust me, this has happened before in my life. This isn't the first time that
Right.
people say he's nuts, and then later they say he's brilliant. Trust me, when I talked about hydrogen in 2009, everyone said you're crazy, and then 2 years later, you're brilliant. So
Yeah.
there is no such thing as alkaline food that grows on this earth.
Right.
Every single vegetable is a lower pH, like a 5.5,
Hmm.
6. There's nothing. So when people used to come to me that sell alkaline water machines, right?
Hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, you need to have an alkaline diet." And I'm like, "Can you help me understand what that is?" I'd play devil's advocate.
Right.
I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, what's an alkaline diet?" "Oh, you need like vegetables." I'm like, "Wait, wait, wait. What vegetable is above 7 pH?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" All of them. I'm like, "No, none of them." Like, if they were higher than 7, they would rot.
Yeah.
They will be so susceptible, even more susceptible to pests.
Hmm.
Trust me. And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Okay, just go to any government website, type in what is the pH of a cucumber, or what is the pH of lettuce? What is the pH?" And you're gonna find out that a cucumber is a 5.5 pH.
Mm.
And so what's alkaline about that? There's
Right.
nothing alkaline about that. And then I would say to them, well, once I get them in that headspace, like, oh my gosh, I've been lied to, and
Right.
you know, and then I say to them, what pH is your stomach?
Right.
And they're like, I don't know. And I'd be like, well, bile is a 1.5.
Yep.
You add some gastric juices and whatever else you're putting in there. What are you, a 3 to 4?
Hmm.
I said, okay, so you dumping in some 9.5 alkaline water from some machine you paid thousands of dollars for, how long does that 9.5 last? in a 3 to 4 pH environment. I'm just
Right.
curious.
Right.
I just act like I don't know what I'm doing, and I would go, I'm just curious. How long do you think that'll last? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, this is what I can tell you. Your stomach has to be in that pH range. And here's the deal. If you put something in it that actually raises the pH, all the body does is drop more HCl in.
Right.
And it's going to regulate it right back down. So I said, there's nothing you're going to do with alkaline water that has no buffering capacity. The only reason it was higher pH is because of hydroxides, anyways, which have no buffering capacity. And they're like, like you could see it was hurting them, right? And I said, listen, let me help you understand. What were you thinking or meaning when you said, I'm going to drink alkaline water and then I'm going to make my body alkaline? What part of the body are you referring to? And they're like, now I don't know what I was referring to. I just said it. Nobody argued with me. So I kept on saying it. I said, but no. Let's think about it for a minute. What part of the body are you saying? Because you do know every organ operates at a different pH based on its function. I said, so then I would lead them down a path and I would say, are you talking about blood? And they would go, yeah, blood. And I would go, okay, do you know what the pH of blood is? And they're like, isn't it like 7.3? Yeah. I said, but do you know what the range is that blood has to stay in? And they're like, no. And I said 7.35 to 7.45. It is an extremely tight window.
Right.
I said, so anytime you see something in nature that has a tight window, that means the creator has set up a system to keep it there.
Right.
And I said, because you will go into shock if you go outside of that either direction. And I said, do you understand what system is in place in the body to regulate blood pH? And they're like, no. I said, it is definitely not what you put in your stomach.
Right.
I said, it is breathing. It's carbonic acid through breathing. So technically, you could breathe one more time a minute, and that's going to affect your blood pH. Right. And I said, it's a really good thing that the creator is smarter than you and I, because imagine if what you said was true to these poor people in this room, that 9.5 pH is going to make your blood alkaline. One soda would kill you.
Right.
I said, so we know this can't be true. Or one glass of water with some lemon juice in it is going to kill you. Or one tomato juice on the plane is going to kill you, because that's a 1.5 pH. Lemon is very acid. And I said, if you put that in water, it would kill you right then. Boom, done. Blood pH dropped. I'm in shock. I'm out.
Right.
And they're like, and you just watch them. They're like processing this, going, no one has ever challenged me before, and I can't fight you because holy crap, right? So I would just say to them, here's the deal to understand. Why did the alkaline water help you in the first place? Because it did help you, but why? And they're like, now I don't know. And I would say, because your device you're selling is electrolysis. It's separating water. When that machine was brand spanking new and you paid $4,000 for it, and it was brand new and you hadn't run any water, and it was your first 2 weeks, you had a ton of hydrogen because the electrodes, the cathode, didn't have any calcium buildup. And therefore, the hydrogen bubbles were nano size, and they were small enough that they would get dissolved into water to about a 1.5 parts per million based on a number of laws that we can talk about. But the reality is, that's all you're going to dissolve at 1 atmosphere into a liquid is around 1.5, 1.58 to be maximum. If it's the cleanest water, you can get about 1.58 parts per million of hydrogen gas. But I said, as soon as you have some calcium buildup on your electrodes, the bubbles will coalesce and group together and get too large to be dissolved, and you don't have a pressurized chamber, and they're just going to go out to atmosphere, and you're going to lose that in about 2 weeks. So when you first drank the water, you probably felt amazing. They're like, yeah, I did. But I said 2, 3, 4 weeks into it, you're like, it doesn't feel the same anymore. But then I said, every time you cleaned it with your citric acid, those feelings probably came back. They're like, yeah. I said, that's because you dissolved the calcium off the electrodes for a few days, and then it came back. And so it was really a beautiful process to re-educate them. And so that's what led me to create Echo, is like, we don't need to be worrying about pH. We should not be worried about pH. I mean, we know osteoporosis is part from the body harvesting calcium from itself to regulate pH.
Yep.
The body will keep stuff at a pH, trust me, even at its own hazard.
Yeah.
We need to be getting hydrogen back into the body. We don't need to be worried about pH of anything that we're taking into the body. It's false. And poor Otto Warburg, because they've quoted him a million times saying that he said that. But Otto Warburg never said anything about pH. He said, to get the Nobel Prize, cancer thrives in an oxygen rich or an oxygen poor environment. In other words, he got a Nobel for what? Proving that cancer thrives on glucose. It's glycolysis is what he proved. Nothing to do with pH, nothing to do with oxygen. And so people are like blown away when you educate them, and I really enjoy that. But that's what I was doing from 2009 till today, which feels like forever.
Sure.
And yet I still have people that are like, I don't get it. So that's why I'm trying to explain the basics today.
Yeah.
Is that our body's designed to produce hydrogen. If we have gut dysfunction, which 90% of the population do, we lose that ability to produce hydrogen gas. I simply created a device and a product line back in 2009, and then we launched in 2011, that gets hydrogen back into your body so you can function the way you were designed. And I say I do that because I want people to accomplish their divine potential.
Right. Well, and that's the whole purpose of what I do is trying to bring, like the podcast is titled Confidence Through Health, because if you bring your body back to the way it was designed, your health gets better. And then if your health gets better, your confidence gets better, because you can handle the mental load of what's going on, because your cells are strong enough to do all that, and they're working properly, and hormones are balanced and all of that. And so you don't wind up with, these bouts of depression or issues, that anxiety and things that they're real. I'm not trying to say they're not, but you can handle them versus them being debilitating to you.
Well, and they're not natural.
Right.
They're based on our gut not working. If we understand that for us to live a healthy life, it's all about our gut. Mm-hmm. There's more regulation happening in our gut than in our brain, to be honest. And we have more bacteria in our gut than anywhere else in our body. And more of our emotions are based on the bacteria in our gut than anything else. And digestion, we call it digestion, but really it's fermentation of food. And if you don't have the right bacteria, this is why people eat salad and have diarrhea. And then they're like, I don't know what I can do to be healthy. Well, you can drink Echo water for 2 weeks, and now you can eat salads again, right? Or eat what food you might want to eat. And so you don't have to eat just rice, because a lot of people that have too much aerobic, they'll be able to eat rice and feel good, and have proper bowel and bladder program. We want to fix your gut, though, because it's not just about what you can eat. People need to understand that 70% of your immune function is tied to gut health. And so if your gut is off, your immune function's off, and your antioxidant pathways are all off, and your brain is off. And, ghrelin secretions, there's a master hormone in the body called ghrelin. And that's what's supposed to go to the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, and brainstem to change cognitive function, right?
Right.
Well, ghrelin is only created in the intestinal tract and in the stomach. Mm-hmm. So this is why hydrogen water or Echo water can fix or help cognitive function so rapidly within 5 to 10 minutes, because as soon as it hits the stomach, ghrelin secretions are signaled.
Right.
Well, the same would naturally happen in the intestinal tract, But because people aren't producing hydrogen the way we're supposed to, now we have other neurologic issues
Yeah.
because we're not producing ghrelin secretion. So, I have people with tremors and they can drink, 10 ounces of Echo water, and in 10 minutes, they're like, my hand is still, what happened? And it's a
Wow.
really cool experience
Yeah.
to watch that. But I'm a little passionate, as you can
Yeah.
tell, but it's only because I have seen lives changed, and I've seen people that are supposed to be passed on or graduated from this life that are
Right.
still here. And I don't know what that's worth to a spouse or a family member. I
Yeah.
don't know there's any money amount you could put on a
Right.
life. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the other piece I want people to make sure that they hear is that, because you've said this multiple times, is it's naturally produced in the body. If its body
Right.
is working properly, we should be producing the correct amount for what
Right.
we need.
Right.
And so it's not something that's going to give us these massive side effects, like if we were to find a pill or a peptide or something that we heard was the right thing to do and our body wasn't ready for it or in the right
Correct.
state to get it. And
Correct.
then, like you said, you eat a salad and you go straight to the bathroom. It's not the salad's fault. It's the
Right.
environment you introduced it
Right.
into.
Right. Well, yeah, if it's like anything else. If you don't have anaerobic, you can't process fiber.
Yeah.
I mean, you just and so it's going to come out as liquid instead of a
Right.
solid because you didn't
Right.
grab anything out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're 100% correct. And you know, with drinking water with hydrogen gas dissolved, this is like the kind of things that will happen. You're going to have some effects that happen the first day. You're going to have some things that happen in the first few days, the first week, the first month, the first 3 months, 6 months. There are things that are going to start to change in your life. Like for eye improvement, it's going to be months.
Right.
But for pain in your joints, it's going to be the same day or a couple days later. You're going to have joint pain gone. For clarity of mind, it's going to be the same day. For
Yeah.
sleep improvement, it's that very first night. You're going to be like, whoa, I haven't slept like that in 10 years. So there are some things that are immediate. There are some things that take a little longer.
Yeah.
Obviously our A1C level is a 90-day marker, but I will tell you, there are people with glucose issues and diabetes that within 3 to 5 days, many times, you're normalizing glucose levels.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but if I had diabetes, I would want to know about that. And there's currently 77 studies showing that hydrogen can change lipid and glucose metabolism with people with impaired glucose tolerance or type 2 diabetes mellitus, for example. And there's other studies on type 1 diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
So understand these are horrible diseases like Parkinson's. There's 22 studies on Parkinson's, and it says it has disease modifying effects. I don't know about you, but if I had a loved one with Parkinson's, I would do anything in my power to help them. It is one of the most horrible disease models ever known to man. You don't even want your enemies to get that. It's so bad. And I would tell you, these studies have been published for 10 years already. Why is it that the public doesn't know? I can tell you, in 2020, we had a big worldwide issue that not only dumbed a lot of people down, but there were no medical advancements. You can't name one medical advancement from 2020 to 2023 that occurred in the world, except for things that had already been made 10 years before that were all of a sudden introduced that were supposed to help everyone. And then later find out they just harmed them.
Yeah.
And so there were no medical. So normally it takes 10 years to get a study to the general public for it to be common knowledge. We reset that in the world in 2020 to 2023. We actually hit a big reset button and said, nothing will happen in medical during these 3 years. And nothing did. I mean, it changed the world I think for the better in many ways,
Mhm.
and some people for the worse. There were people that lost businesses. Now those people's
Sure.
lives were changed for the worse, and my heart goes out to them. Other
Yeah.
people now are not with us anymore because of it,
Right.
and other people have heart conditions, and there's all kinds of things, and my heart goes out to them. But from an education or a trust or the
Yeah.
desire to get information, I think that's changed in the world for the better.
Right.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So before we switch to red light therapy and
Yeah.
talk about that for a little bit, so you've got the bottle,
The
it works, right?
flask,
The
yeah,
flask.
the flat. This
So
is the flask. Yeah.
so does it matter? Because you said a couple times clean water. So you're not wanting to put tap water into that, correct? You're going to want
Never.
to use something,
Never, never, never.
right? Yeah.
There's no filter to remove contaminants. And yes, I know 31% of the population drinks tap water straight.
Right.
Please don't ever do that.
Yeah.
Anyone hearing my voice, don't be that. Please
Yeah.
don't be that. I would tell you that you need a filter. And this is what I always say: buy a filter, don't be a
Right.
filter. And
Right.
so it's harder to get rid of things once you introduce them into your body than it is to filter them out before. So
Yeah.
the water you need to put in here is filtered water.
Okay.
Even from your fridge is still filtered. And
Right.
yes, it's basic filtration, but at least it's filtration.
Yeah.
But I would say to you, the more filtered, the better. So what do I use in my house? I use the Echo branded whole house filtration system.
Right.
I use the Echo branded reverse osmosis system that we have that is an on-demand reverse osmosis system. That I then put in here, and then you would basically go here, touch the screen, raise. Sorry, I'm doing this. There you go.
Nope. Yep. You got it.
And then you turn it on. You can see
Yeah.
there's a 10-minute timer,
Right.
and then what you see in there is all those
Yeah.
bubbles.
Right.
So all those bubbles coming up are purely H2. You see the blue light in the back?
Yep.
That's where oxygen, ozone, chlorine would come out.
Okay.
And so all we care about is all those beautiful little hydrogen bubbles going up.
Right.
And once this timer runs for 10 minutes,
Hmm.
you now have over 6 parts per million, which is 12 times what's considered therapeutic.
Right.
So it's really good for your body to get that hydrogen. In the top of this lid, you can push, you can hear it. Do you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's only after 1 minute. So if we were to run a full 10-minute cycle, it would be
Mhm.
64 psi.
Oh,
You
wow.
have to pressurize the chamber
Mhm.
to be able to get over that 1.5 parts per million. So please
Right.
understand, we use the highest quality plastic. It's called PPSU. It's what baby bottles are made out of because the
Right.
FDA has deemed it the healthiest plastic. And keep in mind, you're not putting breast milk in here.
Right.
You're not putting hot water in here.
Right.
So there are no microplastics being produced because normal use of this is putting room temperature or chilled water in it.
Right.
And this plastic, you won't have any microplastics or BPAs or any harmful chemicals coming out of it. We've already done the tests.
Yeah.
And so please understand, this is the perfect product that's built. I have a lot of people that say, but can't you make some out of glass? Oh, I wish we could.
Yeah.
We would do it. The problem is when we build up the pressure, it would shatter the glass.
Right.
Anyone that has a product out there that is made out of glass is not going to produce a high amount of hydrogen because they can't pressurize that chamber appropriately without
Gotcha.
it shattering. And even
Gotcha.
with borosilicate and other glass, we've tried them. It's just not, it doesn't have the elongation. Glass doesn't have elongation like plastic does.
Right.
And so, hopefully that helps. This also can be dropped 6 foot. It
Oh,
has
nice.
drop protection built into it. Now, what's really cool about this is there is an app. So, for example, like this is now showing,
Mhm.
that hold on, I got to turn
No,
off
you're
my,
good.
there we go. Um, that's showing one bottle because I'm processing
Right.
right now. Now, if I go here, if I go right here, that's showing my bottle,
Right.
right? So can you see all of that?
Yeah.
I can turn it on
Hmm.
or off right there. I can hit
Oh,
a
nice.
cleaning cycle. I can change the color of the LEDs inside. For example, if I go here to pink, because we want to get in touch with our feminine side,
Right.
we can change it. And now look, that color is pink.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And then I can change it back because now I'm in touch with my feminine side.
Right.
I can go back here to my favorite color, which looks like that ocean water in Cancun I love.
Hmm.
And now I'm back to blue.
Nice.
And so not only will the app control the bottle, but it will track how much water you're drinking, how
Hmm.
much hydrogen you're getting, and it can transfer that to an Apple product. So it's connected
Right.
to Apple so you can track your hydration. And just so people understand, you can see on the screen how it's showing how much hydrogen I'm getting for today and how much
Right.
water consumption I'm getting today. Now,
Yeah.
if I want to go and I want to add water at the bottom, you see here, you hit that and
Hmm.
it says log water.
Right.
So I can go in here and say, well, I drank 12 ounces of
Yeah.
water from another source other than my flask.
Right.
And I can say, okay, log it.
Yeah.
Now do you see it changed
Right. Yep.
how much water I've consumed today? Because now it says 24 ounces out of 72.
Yeah.
So you can track everything you're doing with the app. And then of course, when you go home right here,
Hmm.
well, sorry, my camera is funny. Here, that is home. When we go down here to right here, hold on, learn,
Right.
there's
Oh,
all
yeah.
there's a whole video library. Oh my
Right.
gosh, hold on.
Nope. You're good.
My wonderful camera is being smart. Let me turn off AI. Okay. So when you're on these videos, you can
Yeah.
see how to use it, first
Right.
use, you can kind of see here as you go up the different videos
Right.
that you have. So there's a ton in the app, and it allows you to use this in a very different way rather than just a bottle.
Yeah.
You can set up your daily goals. You can set up how much water you want to be drinking. It'll tell you when you're on your proper streak. It'll remind you to drink water. Hey, you haven't hit your goal today yet. It'll remind
Right.
you and tell you.
Right.
Um, and so it's really, really nice. Now we are adding a 40-ounce version of this that
Oh,
looks
nice.
like those Stanley cups.
Hmm.
And so it'll have the same touch screen on the
Right.
handle. And of course, it's going to be heavier than this. This is 12
Sure.
ounces, 40 ounces of water, but it'll create the hydrogen. It's stainless steel in the inside and it has UV.
Right.
So it's a neat product from that perspective. And that'll be available later this year, like
Cool.
summertime.
Cool.
And so, anyways, that's what we've got, at least for people that are skeptical. And I love skepticism. I think it's very healthy to have proper skepticism. What's not proper skepticism is keeping you from trying something
Right.
when there is science. Skepticism makes you not be scammed.
Right.
Skepticism shouldn't keep you from doing something that can really help you.
Right.
And that's what this is. But I can tell you, I could sit here for 10 hours talking about all the
Yeah.
stories from millions of people across the world that are drinking Echo water that have had their lives changed.
Yeah.
Even little things like gray hair. I'm 53. I don't have too much of that.
Yeah.
Most of my hair, I don't color my hair. You
Right.
know, there's a lot of things, just practical things that happen when hydrogen is in your body. So, athletes,
Right.
Recovery times cut down by 85-90%. We have a lot of teams like 49ers, Raiders, Dodgers,
Oh, wow.
The Lakers that you start because they don't fatigue.
Right.
We have Ronaldo drinks our water, Djokovic drinks our like for years, not just like yesterday, for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you don't want to have fatigue, if you want to be able to do more, experience more, not have downtime as much, this is what you want to drink. So
Right.
there you go.
Well, and so that's awesome. And you just hit on my passion, which is being an athlete.
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking for things that are reducing inflammation and
Yep.
reducing recovery time. Because I'm 51, I'm still trying to compete at a high level. And, obviously I'm not at 51. I know I'm not 18 and 21 anymore,
Yeah.
So everything I can do to legally get an edge on myself, not necessarily anybody else, but just
Right.
like
Right.
get my body to do what I want it to do, what my brain says I want it to do.
Well, I will tell you, there's a huge difference in mitochondrial function
Mhm.
once you start drinking echo water because the
Mhm.
hydroxyl radicals that normally would get into the mitochondrial respiratory chain don't anymore. You're going to feel more energy. There was even a study on coffee versus hydrogen water, and hydrogen water won by 10%. I would just tell you from an athlete's perspective, you can go 5 times as long
Oh,
before you
nice.
fatigue, and the recovery times are cut down to 15%. I mean, cut down to 15. They're cut down by 85%.
Right.
And I'm just telling you that it's, and we have studies, there are studies on this. So anyone that wants to geek out on the studies,
Mhm.
go to hydrogenstudies.com.
Okay.
Hydrogen, just like you spell the word hydrogen,
Right.
studies.com. There are 1,692 studies there. About 22% of them are human studies. You've got 220 disease models, but more importantly, you could type in elite athletes, for example. You could type in, whatever you want to learn about, and it'll come up with studies about that topic. You can type in organs, you can type in disease models, you
Right.
can type in whatever. And it's really incredible. I think you'll be shocked
Yeah.
on what they've been studying. And we have studies on this site from 1888.
Nice.
And it's like people are probably like, "What? They were studying hydrogen back then?" Yes, 1795 is the earliest I found where they considered hydrogen as an antioxidant. This is why water electrolysis was discovered by Dr. Anthony Carlisle in 1800, not because he wanted to do anything but harvest. He wanted to harvest hydrogen out of water so he could
Mhm.
have an antioxidant. So, yeah, I hope
Wow.
everyone takes a serious moment and then please go tell 4 or 5 people, because
Right.
if 90% of the population have gut issues,
Yeah.
90% of the population have issues similar to yours, go tell everyone and be
Right.
like, "Hey, this has helped me. I think it could help you as well." That's how we bless each other's lives. That's how we
Right.
tell each other what we can do. And for those that say, "I can't afford $299, we have financing on our website
Right.
for even the bottles. So you could pay
Yeah.
a small monthly fee with Shop Pay or whatever it is.
Right.
So, anyways, I hope that helps people.
Yep.
People also say, "How can this be $299?" I will tell you right now, the bottles that are on Alibaba and Amazon that are like $100, $30,
Yeah.
$50, they are not real hydrogen devices. We couldn't even sell this to you without losing money at that cost.
Right.
So just understand, we're not doing inappropriate things. It costs
Mhm.
a lot of money to manufacture these, and we do not manufacture these in China.
Right.
They're
Good
manufactured
to
in the
know.
Philippines. Yeah, they're manufactured in the Philippines, as they say right on the bottom.
Right.
So I hope that helps people, Jerry, and thank you
Yeah.
for being able to do it. But
Well,
you yourself need to try to get this.
yeah, I definitely need to. And from an athlete standpoint and the recovery stuff, I mean, that's what got me to doing the red light therapy. And,
Oh yeah,
and I've got 2 panels that I do almost every day.
nice.
And usually it's full body is what I'm after, but my physical therapist will sometimes do just on, the leg that's that's having a problem, he'll put high intense, like I say high intense because it's just closer than what I get when I'm normally doing it as
Okay.
a full body. So, to help, and that's something that I can, maybe it's because I'm more in touch with how my body feels, because I am a high level athlete and I try to do everything as clean as I can so I can feel that sort of immediate reaction.
Yeah.
But I can tell if I go, on a trip somewhere and I don't bring them with me, and I'm 4 or 5 days without them, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling the difference in the recovery standpoint,
Right.
and then when I get back, I'm like, okay, that's where I want to be, and that feels better. So, and of course, red light therapy is all over the place, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of differences there as far as
Well, there's
quality of
there
product.
yeah, there's 10,000 studies. I own
Yeah.
redlightstudies.com too, and there's 10,000 studies on red light.
Mhm.
It's amazing. And I love red light. I created my first red light bed in 2020,
Mhm.
and I got my first patent on a red light bed in 2020, and just getting a second one now on an additional bed that I did. But I'm very passionate about red and infrared light because it mimics the sun.
Right.
So, where hydrogen is supposed to be produced in the body, red and infrared light would be in the sun.
Mhm.
And so, not everybody goes out in the sun. I used to live in Florida much of my life. So, you can get all the UV light and all the wavelengths of light in Florida all year round.
Yeah.
But I live in the mountains of Utah now, and it gets chilly sometimes here. And so nobody's going out in a bathing suit.
Right.
And even if they did, there's a chunk of the year that you don't have UV light
Mhm.
anyways for vitamin D, for example.
Right.
And so I created the red light beds that have infrared, and we also have vitamin D lights
Mhm.
so that people can get vitamin D when it's 30 degrees outside and they don't want to go outside in their bathing suit.
Right.
They can get it inside their home because most people have too low of vitamin D3.
Right.
And so I have a double patented device that will double vitamin D levels in 90 days.
Nice.
And that's without buying anything addition. It's a one-time purchase, and then you use
Sure.
this light every day for you, your wife, or whoever, up to 6 people a day, no problem.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of stuff I get excited about because it doesn't mean a family has to keep paying every month. It's something they buy once and then they just have it the rest of
Right.
their lives,
Yeah.
and they can improve the function of their body. So I love red and infrared light. Now, I will tell you, just like I said with hydrogen, 99% of the products on the market are scam. The same is true with red light.
Right.
There are lawsuits right now. There are companies, major companies, that are being sued for fraud because they were claiming the level of brightness of their beds that was completely fraudulent.
Yeah.
And what I do different than that is I spend money on third party laboratories
Right.
to validate what the bed is doing so that when I say on our website, it's like me making a claim, I can back it up with a legitimate study that was done with a appropriate and legitimate testing device.
Right.
Because you have ways to test hydrogen that are completely false. I only use gas chromatography.
Yeah.
That's considered laboratory, and when it comes to red light, you should only use a testing apparatus that is laboratory based, that
Right.
is for LED lights. And so, we had companies out there that were claiming 165 milliwatts per centimeter squared, and they were 13 in their $125,000 bed.
Wow.
And I'm just like, wow, you are screwing people. You are
Yeah.
committing fraud every single day. So those people are getting sued right now. But in our bed, I have a $59,000 bed that is the highest performing out in the industry,
Yeah.
and that's incredible, but we're able to get something in somebody's home. We also have a half bed that's 11,000 that is almost the same, and you just have to flip over, right?
Right.
But we sell a lot of beds to chiropractors, to wellness facilities, to
Mhm.
teams, professional teams and stuff like this, where they can come in and they can experience red light therapy and get an actual clinical outcome,
Right.
because the level of light and the wavelengths matter.
Yeah. No, that's
So,
true.
and all of our lights in our beds are made in Germany. They're not Chinese LEDs like most of the products on the market.
Yeah.
And I'm not downing Chinese LEDs. I just trust German LEDs a little bit more.
Right.
And we put German LEDs, and we have branded power supplies, not generic. So they don't overheat, they don't have issues. And this way we can sell a bed to a commercial location. They can use it every day, all day, and not have it go down.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference. But
Right.
I can tell you, we have people that get in our beds who couldn't sleep without medication. They get in the bed, they can sleep without medication. And
Right.
that's the difference of a clinical level of light or a therapeutic level of light. Just like hydrogen, we want to give someone a ton of, therapeutic value.
Right.
We want to do the same thing with light, because light can affect the body. Light can do incredible things like hydrogen, and actually putting them together, having a red light product and hydrogen inhalation, or drinking hydrogen water, echo water, and using a LumaNova product, that's a perfect stack
Yeah.
for nitric oxide. I mean, we can start talking about all the things that will happen in the body by stacking hydrogen gas and red and infrared light, and UVB for vitamin D. So
Right.
so long story short, I love all of it. I like things that mimic nature.
Right.
I like things that our body are supposed to be able to do on its own. Anyone who lives north of the 37th parallel, so if you draw a line from San Francisco to Richmond, Virginia,
Right.
anyone that lives north of that cannot get UV light out of the sun all year
Yeah.
round. So
Right.
they would need a vitamin D light.
Yeah. Well,
And
and
taking supplements isn't
yeah.
really increasing your vitamin D3 levels.
Right.
It's not really. So,
Yeah. Well, and the skin's the biggest organ,
yeah.
and you mentioned that, like, it's not just going outside, because you said you can't go outside in your bathing suit in
Right.
Utah, right? Like, it's not go outside and you're all bundled up and covered up, because
Yeah.
even if the sun's out, you're not getting exposure
Correct.
to enough of your body
Yeah.
to make a difference. And so,
Right. Right.
it's the definitely the cold factor plays a part, but it's also, like you said, the level of the 37th
Irradiance.
parallel, like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
light are you getting exposed to?
Correct.
And so to be able to go, okay, well, I've got this in my office or garage or wherever, or I'm going to a facility that has a wellness facility that has it, and I can go and get in it and get the same level, or the level that I need. I shouldn't say the
Yeah.
same level, the level I
Yeah.
need,
Yeah.
to maintain that healthy body, because
Yeah.
and that's where I think some people miss the boat on. And I'm not trying to downplay skin cancer. I understand it's a horrible thing. I don't want anybody to have it. My father-in-law's had it multiple times,
Yeah.
but it's also something where he is indoors, and he had an indoor job for years before he retired, but he's indoors almost all the time. And then on the weekend, he would be outdoors, for
Yeah.
10 or 12 hours a day, both days, doing stuff around his property.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're not balancing it properly,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and so, yeah, you're going to develop things because it's not a constant
Yeah.
everyday exposure.
Yeah. Exactly right. No, I agree with you 100%. 100%. I I can tell you, like, in our bed, within 8 minutes, you have a clinical level of light. Like, you've received,
Hmm.
and you can measure it in joules of light, but
Right.
you've received an amount of light that is considered clinical efficacy. And our beds have a touch screen, and the only one in the world that has 63 preset protocols,
Oh, wow.
from macular degeneration to muscle recovery, muscle performance, to, you know, cytokine storms, to, I mean, you name it, droopy eyes, all these kind of things, eye health, right? And what those do is we have 5 wavelengths, 2 of red and 3 of infrared.
Mhm.
And between those 5 wavelengths, each of the preset protocols changes which wavelengths are on and off and
Mm.
how much, and then what pulsing of the light is happening. And it just dials it in for you. If it's acne, there's a acne. Like, there's all these preset protocols that you can use, and that way you can, boom, let's get in, boom, and start.
Right.
And the bed is programmed for that thing. And so it's a totally different than any other bed, in the industry. And we're introducing some new technologies that are, like I said, in the patent process right now. And
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. And so, we did stuff like we have higher end JBL branded speakers. We have high fidelity amplifiers. So if people listen to music or a podcast, it sounds good. Like, what a
Yeah.
concept, right? And
Right.
so, why not? But, that's what we do. I love it. We also have the lower price things that are like a sleeping bag.
Right.
Of course, there is so much fraud in there too, because you have all these
Sure.
companies on the internet selling these lower priced products, and they'll say it's 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared. That's humanly impossible. You can't even do 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared in a bed.
Yeah.
Like my bed that has almost 27,000 LEDs that are German made, 220 power, 30 amp, and we hit 73.9 milliwatts per centimeter squared. How do they think a little sleeping bag with tiny LEDs that have 290 watt, not a 4,500 watt power supply, 290 watts is going to hit 100 milliwatts when my bed with 27,000, 10 times the number of LEDs, is only hitting 73.9? But that's the problem, is the consumer just sees what people fraudulently put on their websites and they
Right.
think it's true, but it's not. But we do have the Luma bags, which are a sleeping bag. The one nice thing about ours is we have a wireless controller versus wired
Mm.
controller,
Yeah.
and one versus two. And so there are a lot of nice benefits with our device versus others.
Yeah.
But anyways, I do love red light. I love infrared. I love it for traumatic brain injuries. I
Mm.
love it for concussion. I love it for things that people don't think about like that. Like, they don't
Yeah.
think traumatic brain injury or concussion, that red light can help with that.
Yeah.
And it can. They don't think of collagen synthesis, they don't think of cell viability, they don't think of wound care. They don't think when they get a surgical procedure that it can help with scarring and help with the granulation or the fibroblasts dropping
Right.
collagen down into the wound. Like, they don't think of all these clinical things that red light can do, and
Yeah.
infrared can do. So from that perspective, everyone can benefit with
Right.
skin health or eye health or whatever. But I do love red light, and we're blessing a lot of lives with
Mhm.
red light in clinical offices and wellness facilities. And we want more and more people that want to promote or tell others about
Right.
LumaNova.
Right.
And that would be wonderful. Athletic trainers, gyms, we have gyms now adding our red light beds, and so
Yeah.
it's really good for people that are using their muscles for 2 hours a day, like people are
Yeah.
in the gym.
Right. So, from a uh, connecting with you, from following what's going on, from seeing new products, what's the best way for people to be able to do that?
For Echo, they just go to echowater.com,
Okay.
ECHO water.com. For LumaNova, it's good. Just go to lumanova.com, LumaNova, Luma, and then nova.com. if they want to look at the studies, hydrogenstudies.com. If they want to look at the studies on red light, it's just redlightstudies.com. And that's where they will go. Of course, both of the companies are on Instagram.
Right.
LumaNova RLT. We just put our Instagram page up, so please come and like us so we can have more than 60 followers. It's been like a week or two or whatever, but
yeah.
If you go to LumaNova, LumaNova RLT for red light therapy, LumaNova RLT, please go and like us and follow us. We're going to have more and more great content coming out. For Echo, of course, I think we're at 100,000,
right. Yeah.
on there and growing. And so that's fine. I'm in the Maha films, if you know anything about Maha.
Yep.
So I'm featured in the Maha film that's going on and what have you. So that's awesome. I'm grateful for that. But, I would say I'm also on Instagram, Dr. Paul Barattiero. If you go and you like me as well, I don't know how many I have, but I've never done anything to get followers, but
right.
I am going to start making more reels and things, or what, I don't know what you call them.
Yeah.
Where I talk for a minute or two and then put it out there and educate people on something. I'm going to start doing that. A lot of the podcasts that I've been on are on my Instagram and of course on Echo's Instagram, but I appreciate being here with you today. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, and I applaud you for two things. One, doing what you're doing because it's helping people.
Thank you.
But the education piece that you're providing, so it's not just, a money grab or a low level, price point product that may or may not work well. In it, or may work for 2 weeks and then you're not really getting anything,
Exactly. Yeah.
Because with today's world, it's possible to do that, unfortunately. You
can be anything you want on the internet, right?
Yeah. And so it's like, and like you said, I think people are starting to come around to understanding how to decipher, but that you're putting that stuff out there for people to help them is awesome. And so thank you so much for being a guest. It's been great.
Oh, thank you. It's been an honor. And I'm happy to help. I love what you're doing. I went and checked out some of your stuff. Great, life-changing things you're doing, changing people's lives. I'm sure you have thousands of stories, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out the Confidence Through Health podcast. Please subscribe, post a review, share this episode with those you love who need a little extra help with their health journey. Visit allinhealthandwellness.com to learn more about the coaching programs that I provide. All episodes are produced by the Social Media Cowboys, your source for all online marketing needs. Go to socialmediacowboys.com for more information.